Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be with all of you today, men and women who have shown up not just to listen, but to grow together. In a world that often teaches us to hustle individually, it's refreshing to pause and remember that some of our greatest transformations happen when we stand side by side. Today, we're talking about confidence, not the loud, showy kind, but the steady inner power that shapes the way we speak, act, lead, love, and live. Confidence isn't something we're born with or without. It's built like a muscle, and just like in the gym, it grows faster with support. We live in a time where the definition of strength is evolving. For men, it's no longer about just appearing tough or emotionless. For women, it's not about being perfect or quiet. True confidence is about ownership of our thoughts, our voice, and our worth. And the most beautiful part, when we support each other across gender, across experience, we rise faster, deeper, and stronger. Imagine a world where men and women didn't just work together, but grew together. It starts with something simple yet powerful, celebrating small wins. Each of us is doing something brave every day, whether it's speaking up in a meeting, confronting fear, or even just getting out of bed when it's hard. When you have someone to reflect those moments back to you, to say, yes, that mattered, your confidence roots in something real. That's what happens when we choose to see each other fully. Another powerful practice is feedback, not the kind that stings, but the kind that helps you rise. When two people, regardless of gender, come together and ask, how can I get better? And truly listen, magic happens. We begin to shift from fear of judgment to love of growth, and that makes confidence not just a personal achievement, but a shared language of trust. There's also something beautifully primal about how our bodies hold power. You might not realize it, but standing tall, opening your chest, grounding your feet, these subtle changes shift the chemicals in your brain. Now imagine two people doing this side by side, encouraging each other. It's not just science, it's energy. You feed off one another's courage, and that courage becomes contagious. One of the most underrated confidence builders is mentorship, and not just in one direction. Men can learn from women, women can learn from men. When we teach each other, from business acumen to emotional intelligence, we break old molds and create new possibilities. We learn to see through each other's eyes, and suddenly we realize we're not so different after all. Then there's the voice, the way we speak. Our tone, clarity, and presence shapes how others perceive us and how we see ourselves. Practicing our voice, hearing it reflected back to us by someone who wants us to win, is transformative. Whether you're preparing for a pitch or just trying to speak more authentically, having someone who believes in your message strengthens the voice inside. And let's not forget the power of public commitment. When you tell someone, I'm going to do this, and they check in with you, it becomes real. Accountability doesn't shame you, it supports you. It's someone holding up a mirror and reminding you of the person you're trying to become. Confidence is not a competition. It's not a male trait or a female trait. It's a human one. And when we choose to level up together, we don't just get stronger individually. We create communities where belief is shared, where courage is mutual, and where growth is multiplied. So I invite you, look around this room. The person next to you is not just a stranger, they are your ally. Let's build something today that doesn't end with this talk. Let's make confidence a conversation, a connection, a movement we carry forward together. Confidence grows faster in connection, not isolation. We often think of confidence as a personal journey, something we build alone through grit, discipline, and self-reflection. But confidence, like language or laughter, thrives in the presence of others. It takes shape in our interactions, in the way we are seen, heard, and supported by the people around us. From early childhood to adulthood, the validation and encouragement we receive from others play a crucial role in how we perceive ourselves. When someone believes in us, especially in moments when we doubt ourselves, that belief becomes a mirror reflecting our potential back to us. It gives us a reason to try, to speak up, to step forward. In contrast, isolation can make our inner critic louder, our doubts heavier. Alone, it's easy to spiral into hesitation, to second, guess our abilities and shrink from opportunity. This is why building confidence as a shared journey is so powerful. When we surround ourselves with people who uplift rather than compete, who listen instead of judge, we begin to internalize that support. Our courage grows not from perfection, but from presence, being present with others who remind us that our voice matters. Think about how different it feels to walk into a room full of strangers versus walking in with a friend who believes in you. The energy shifts, and so does your posture, your expression, even your thoughts. That subtle shift is not about skill, it's about emotional safety, the sense that you don't have to prove yourself, only express yourself. In relationships, in teams, and in communities, confidence becomes a shared resource. When one person steps up and dares to be bold, it gives silent permission for others to do the same. That's the contagious nature of confidence. It passes through glances, words, and actions. In supportive environments, people grow into themselves more quickly because they aren't wasting energy on self-defense. They aren't bracing for criticism. They are open, engaged, and focused on contribution. This is especially important in mixed gender dynamics where traditional roles may have taught men to hide vulnerability and women to soften their power. When both are encouraged to bring their full selves to the table without fear of judgment or dismissal, a new form of mutual empowerment begins to emerge. In these shared spaces, confidence becomes less about performance and more about authenticity. You start to see that it's not about always having the answer or never feeling fear. It's about showing up fully, even when you don't have it all figured out. And when others do the same, a deeper kind of connection is formed, one where growth is not a solitary pursuit, but a collective unfolding. The beauty of leveling up together lies in this very truth, that what we can achieve together, we rarely reach alone. Confidence becomes a reflection of the environment we choose, the people we invite in, and the way we hold space for one another to evolve, stumble, and rise again. Celebrate small wins together to build mutual momentum. In a world obsessed with big achievements and dramatic transformations, we often overlook the quiet, consistent victories that truly shape our self-belief. Small wins are the bricks that build the foundation of lasting confidence. They are the first steps, the mini breakthroughs, the moments we push past hesitation even slightly. And when these moments are seen, acknowledged, and celebrated by others, they carry more weight. They stop being fleeting and instead become a part of our story, something that solidifies our inner voice with pride and assurance. What might seem like a minor accomplishment to one person could be a major leap for another. Sharing those milestones creates an environment where growth is measured by courage, not just results. The simple act of someone saying, "I saw what you did, and it was brave," or "that took effort, and I'm proud of you," has a powerful psychological impact. It affirms that our actions matter, even when they aren't dramatic or visible to everyone. When men and women start practicing this habit of mutual recognition, they start to create a feedback loop of positivity and motivation. You begin to anticipate support instead of doubt. You begin to want to keep going, not out of pressure, but because there's joy in the process. The mind is more likely to repeat what brings positive emotional reinforcement, and when that reinforcement comes from a shared community or partnership, it gains even more strength. Celebrating small wins together doesn't require ceremony or grand gestures. Sometimes it's a smile, a nod, a message saying you did great today. Other times it's making space in a conversation to reflect on what went well. This builds trust. It tells the other person you are seen and your effort is valued. Over time, it creates a culture where people feel safe to take risks because they know that someone will be there to acknowledge the effort regardless of the outcome. This is especially important in male-female dynamics, where cultural or social conditioning may have trained some people to minimize their accomplishments or wait for permission to feel proud. When one person takes the lead in naming and celebrating progress, it becomes an invitation for others to do the same. It creates a ripple effect where positivity replaces judgment and appreciation becomes a habit. It's no longer about who's ahead, but about how far we've come together. This approach also teaches us to slow down and be present. Instead of constantly chasing what's next, we learn to appreciate what is, and in that appreciation, confidence grows quietly but powerfully. When someone sees your effort and says it out loud, it echoes longer than you expect. That echo becomes part of your internal dialogue, the story you tell yourself when doubt creeps in. Every small win becomes a stepping stone, not just for one person but for both, as their shared momentum builds a stronger, more trusting foundation for growth. Empower each other through honest, compassionate feedback. One of the most transformative tools in building confidence is feedback that uplifts while guiding growth. It's not about pointing out flaws or listing mistakes, but rather about creating a mirror where someone can see themselves clearly, strengths, struggles, and all, with kindness and clarity. For too long, feedback has been treated as a top-down, critical process that triggers defensiveness or shame. But when given in a spirit of support and trust, it becomes something entirely different. It becomes a gift, a reflection of belief in someone's ability to evolve and succeed. In a shared growth environment between men and women, this kind of feedback becomes not only helpful, but essential. It allows both sides to understand how they show up, how they're perceived, and what they're capable of becoming. The key to empowering feedback lies in the intention behind it. When someone knows you want them to win, they're more likely to receive your words without resistance. That requires building a relationship where feedback isn't feared, but expected and appreciated. It also means learning how to speak with honesty that doesn't wound, and how to listen with humility that doesn't resist. This dynamic can be especially powerful between men and women, where differing communication styles often lead to misunderstanding. When the feedback is filtered through compassion, it bridges those gaps, creating a space where each person feels safe enough to be vulnerable and strong enough to be challenged. Giving good feedback also sharpens our own self-awareness. As we help others reflect, we begin to reflect more clearly on ourselves. When we tell someone, "I noticed the way you spoke today, and it had real impact," we're training ourselves to look for value, not just flaws. When we gently say, "You seemed unsure, what held you back?" we're not just confronting weakness, we're inviting insight. And when we ask these questions, we model curiosity instead of criticism, which changes the energy entirely. We begin to trust each other not just with successes, but with the messy, incomplete parts of ourselves that are still under construction. Compassionate feedback fosters growth without pressure. It says, "I see more in you than you may see in yourself, and I'm going to help you reach that version." It's the opposite of competition. It's collaboration at the level of identity, and in mixed gender spaces where societal norms sometimes push people into posturing or defensiveness, it can be deeply liberating. It allows men to be open without losing respect, and women to be assertive without being judged. It levels the playing field by creating a culture of shared honesty. The more we practice this kind of feedback, the more natural it becomes. We learn how to check our tone, how to read timing, how to wrap difficult truths in understanding rather than assumption, and over time, those we give feedback to begin to seek it, not avoid it. It becomes part of their internal framework, a trusted tool rather than a threat. They begin to crave input not out of insecurity, but out of hunger for growth. And as that cycle continues, confidence becomes something deeper than surface-level self-esteem. It becomes rooted in connection, clarity, and the courage to keep becoming. Mentorship across genders breaks old patterns and builds new strengths. For too long, mentorship has often occurred in silos, with men mentoring men and women supporting women, each group passing down knowledge within a limited frame. While there is immense value in these same gender connections, something extraordinary happens when those walls come down and cross. Gender mentorship takes root. It begins to dissolve outdated assumptions, challenge inherited limitations, and open space for a broader, more dynamic understanding of leadership, empathy, and confidence. When a man mentors a woman or a woman mentors a man, the exchange extends beyond skill or strategy. It becomes a meeting of perspectives that neither might have encountered otherwise. The experience stretches both individuals, forcing them to question the norms they've absorbed and adopt new ways of thinking, communicating, and growing. This type of mentorship fosters a powerful kind of mutual respect. It shifts the relationship from one of hierarchy to one of collaboration, where both parties understand they bring unique value to the table. A woman may offer emotional intelligence, creative insight, or resilience developed in the face of systemic bias. A man may provide strategic thinking, decisiveness, or assertiveness shaped by his environment. When these strengths are exchanged rather than held in isolation, they begin to merge, forming new models of success that are more balanced, inclusive, and sustainable. Both individuals walk away not just more capable, but more complete in their leadership style and personal confidence. Mentorship across genders also dismantles stereotypes. It forces us to confront biases we didn't know we held. When a woman mentors a man in emotional expression, for instance, it challenges the idea that vulnerability is a weakness. When a man guides a woman in self-advocacy, it counters the belief that ambition must be masked to be accepted. Each mentorship moment becomes a small rebellion against the old rules that defined what men and women were supposed to be. Instead, both participants learn to define confidence on their own terms, through connection, not conformity. Beyond professional development, this kind of mentorship nurtures emotional intelligence. It teaches us how to listen deeply, how to ask without assuming, how to hold space for someone else's experience without trying to fix or control it. These are the foundations not only of leadership but of humanity. In today's evolving world, the most confident people are not those who dominate the room, but those who make others feel seen and capable within it. Gender mentorship cultivates exactly that. It offers the opportunity to practice seeing beyond roles and into potential. It reminds us that everyone has something to teach and something to learn, regardless of gender, age, or title. As these relationships develop, they begin to echo outwards. They influence how we speak in meetings, how we make decisions, how we advocate for others, and how we carry ourselves in rooms of power or vulnerability. The growth becomes exponential, not only in knowledge but in self-assurance, because we are no longer growing in isolation, but with the perspective, wisdom, and encouragement of someone whose life experience may differ from ours, but whose goals are equally rooted in growth, contribution, and impact. Shared accountability turns intentions into lasting confidence. It's one thing to set goals or dream about becoming more confident, but it's another to actually follow through with consistent actions. This is where accountability becomes the missing bridge between desire and transformation. When two people, regardless of gender, commit to holding each other responsible, something shifts. The intention becomes more than a passing thought. It becomes a promise, not only to oneself, but to someone else who's watching, supporting, and expecting action. That subtle pressure isn't negative, it's empowering. It brings focus, discipline, and a sense of partnership to the growth process. You're no longer alone in your pursuit of change. Someone is walking with you, checking in, asking questions, and cheering you on even when progress feels slow. Confidence doesn't develop in a straight line. There are moments of doubt, hesitation, and setbacks, but when you know someone is aware of your journey, it becomes harder to give up. You pause before quitting, you reflect before backing down, You try again because someone else believes in your capacity to follow through. That external belief slowly becomes internalized. It reshapes your self-image, not through pressure or shame, but through steady reminders that your word matters and your efforts are visible. The quiet but consistent support of accountability allows confidence to be cultivated not through perfection, but through persistence. In the dynamic between men and women, shared accountability has even more value. It creates a sense of equality, of mutual investment in each other's growth. It helps to solve competition or comparison, replacing it with shared purpose. When a woman says to a man, "Did you take the step you promised?" or when a man asks a woman, "Did you speak up like you planned to?" the conversation becomes more than encouragement. It becomes a catalyst. These small check-ins create momentum. They replace silence with motivation and avoidance with clarity. Each person becomes a mirror and a motivator, not pushing, but reminding the other of what they said they wanted and what they are capable of becoming. The consistency of shared accountability builds rhythm into the journey. Weekly conversations, regular reflections, or even simple text messages create a flow where confidence becomes a process rather than a performance. The actions don't have to be massive to matter. Sometimes it's a message sent that was once feared, a meeting attended with a little more assertiveness, or a challenge taken that used to be avoided. Every time one person follows through and shares that with their accountability partner, it reinforces the idea that change is possible, that progress is real, and that confidence isn't an abstract quality but a habit built day by day. Eventually, shared accountability does more than reinforce discipline. It strengthens the bond between people. It turns growth into a shared experience. You don't just grow individually, you grow together. There's a deeper respect that forms when someone sees you not just as you are, but as who you're trying to become and chooses to walk beside you in that journey without judgment, only commitment.